Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks. Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Vocational Education and Training, SOVET, Bachelor's degree programs. Bachelor of Arts, Vocational Studies, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, BAVMSME Semester 3. BERC 131 CSR projects and programs. Block-1 CSR perspective in the Indian context. Unit-1 Fundamentals of CSR. 1.1 Introduction. Dear learners, over the years, the idea of CSR has changed, and today it is one of the accepted corporate practices of modern times. From a purely voluntary altruistic approach to one that is governed by law, CSR has gone a long way. The main goal of corporate social responsibility, CSR, is to maximize the creation of shared value for the businesses, owners, staff, shareholders, and stakeholders. Corporate social responsibility encourages businesses to incorporate social and environmental considerations into their daily operations and relationships with stakeholders. In this unit, we will discuss how the idea of CSR, corporate social responsibility, has evolved over time. We will also study a few CSR theories. 1.2 Objectives. After reading this unit, learners will be able to define CSR, explain the benefits of doing CSR, list out the factors that drive companies to do CSR, discuss various theories of CSR. 1.3 CSR, Meaning and Definition. 1.3.1 Historical Evolution of Social Responsibility. During the 18th and the 19th century, religious philosophies dominated philanthropy. In order to retain the employees, companies used to take steps to improve the standard of living of the employees. Post-World War II, there was an increasing realization of the role of corporations as institutions of social responsibility. There was a rising awareness of the impact corporate actions and decisions had on society. In the 1950s, following World War II, the period of 1950s and 1960s, the management approach laid more emphasis on improving the business response to its social impact. Thus, the concept of social responsibility changed from religious philanthropy to considering the social impact of businesses and changing the business decisions accordingly. Rising anti-war emotions and massive environmental initiatives and protests were prevalent by the end of the 1960s. These demonstrations demanded a clean, sustainable environment and an end to corporate operations that resulted in environmental risks such as oil spills, toxic dumps, factories, and power plants. In response to these demonstrations, improvements were achieved in the early 1970s in the areas of environmental regulation, consumer product safety, equal employment opportunities, and workplace safety and health. During this period, several laws were introduced, giving corporations greater responsibility for a range of societal issues. During the period of 1980s, the focus of CSR shifted from its conceptualization to its implementation. With increasing globalization and the opening up of the economies in 1990s, the MNCs spread their operations abroad. With the increase in their global visibility also increased the pressure of demands and expectations of the host countries in which they operated. Any negligence could put their international reputation at risk, and hence came the need to institutionalize CSR. The bar for corporates on climate-related issues was raised following the Rio Declaration on Environment and Development, the adoption of Agenda 21 and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, 1992, and the adoption of the Kyoto Protocol, 1997. In the year 2000, the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, were adopted by The United Nations. The United Nations Global Compact was also launched in 2000 as the world's largest corporate sustainability initiative to encourage companies across the world to align their business strategies and operations with the principles of human rights, labor, environment and anti-corruption and take actions to promote societal goals. Post-2010, globally, there was a drive towards sustainability. In 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals were adopted. It was during this period that international certifications like ISO 9001, ISO 14000 and ISO 26000 were also adopted. 1.3.2 Definitions of CSR. In a free society, there is one and only one social responsibility of business to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profits so long as it stays within the rules of the game, which is to say, engages in open and free competition without deception or fraud. Friedman, 1970. The social responsibility of business encompasses the economic, legal, ethical, and discretionary expectations that society has of organizations at a given point in time. Carroll, 1979, pp. 500. Corporate social responsibility is a management concept whereby companies integrate social and environmental concerns in their business operations and interactions with their stakeholders. CSR is generally understood as being the way through which a company achieves a balance of economic, environmental and social imperatives, triple bottom line approach, while at the same time addressing the expectations of shareholders and stakeholders. Unido Wayne Visser uses CSR in developing countries to represent the formal and informal ways in which business contributes to improving the governance, social, ethical, labor and environmental conditions of the developing countries in which they operate, while remaining sensitive to prevailing religious, historical and cultural contexts. Visser et al. 2007. The International Standard Organization developed the International Standard on Social Responsibilities of Organizations, ISO 26000, which was first released in 2010. It defines social responsibility as an organization's responsibility for the impacts of its decisions and activities on society and the environment, through transparent and ethical behavior that contributes to sustainable development, including health and the welfare of society, considers stakeholder expectations, complies with local laws and international standards of conduct, and is integrated throughout the organization and implemented in its relations. 1.4 Advantages of CSR. The companies, while they operate in the society, use the resources offered by the society and hence they should be socially accountable to the communities among whom they operate. CSR is becoming increasingly important for the companies not just as a part of their responsibility towards the societies among whom they operate but also because CSR activities are also beneficial for the companies. Let us now look at how doing CSR benefits the companies. 1. Improves brand image. If any brand is associated with positive social change, it improves the brand image of the company and sometimes gives media coverage better than one can get from advertisements. By supporting community initiatives, a company can build itself as a socially responsible brand which helps in gaining public trust. 2. Improves customer loyalty. A 2019 study by Statista, a statistics portal for market data, found that 70% of the customers are loyal to the brands which showcase their CSR activities. If the community realizes that the company has its back, it encourages the community to have companies back as well. 3. Enhances company profits. Consumers these days are more conscious and hence are willing to pay more for products from socially responsible companies. Such companies have an edge and can price their products with a social consciousness premium. 4. Higher employee retention rates. Purpose-driven companies have higher chances of retaining their employees. Employees are less likely to quit companies engaging in CSR as they get greater satisfaction in working for companies which are socially responsible. 5. Increased employee engagement. A company's motivation to make a difference in the society also motivates the employees to be more engaged in their work. This enhances the productivity and performance of the employees. Increased employee engagement and higher retention rate leads to decreased cost of production, thus benefiting the companies. 6. Communities as suppliers. In some cases, as part of CSR initiatives, the communities have been included in the supply chain in order to improve their standard of living. These initiatives have increased their earnings and given the businesses a reliable, secure supply network. 7. Greater sustainability. Environmental CSR is sustainable in the long run, because damaging the environment for financial gain will eventually destroy one's own business. 8. Communities provide the license to operate. The government as well as the communities that are influenced by the corporate activities grant the license to operate in any specific location. A robust CSR program gives businesses permission to operate and helps in maintaining trust of the local community. 1.5 What drives companies to do CSR? In recent years, there has been a trend of large corporate organizations adopting more socially responsible approaches in their business activities. Not only do they engage in socially responsible activities but also popularize their activities to gain public trust. Some of the major drivers of CSR are brand image. Companies try to get competitive advantage by building a positive brand image by showcasing their socially responsible behavior. CSR helps potential customers develop a favorable perception of a brand. Effective CSR communications increase potential customers' desire to make purchases. Businesses can build their reputation and goodwill through contributing to society's well-being. People favor buying goods from businesses that participate in various social welfare initiatives. For example, emergency medical help is essential when a calamity strikes. Pfizer contributed $5 million through its Global Medical Grants Program during the COVID-19 pandemic to advance patient identification, diagnosis, care, and management. Grants were also made available to hospitals, clinics, and medical facilities to help them monitor and treat COVID-19 patients better. Pfizer was recognized by Ethisphere in 2022 as one of the most ethical businesses in the world. 2. Government legislation. Governments across various nations have enacted laws requiring businesses to comply with standards and behave in a specific manner. For example, laws governing the environment, pollution, employment of people and working conditions, product disposal, raw materials, etc. However, the companies affected by such legislations might just be adhering to different standards as a result of regulation. They might not be eager to include social responsibility activities in their ongoing business operations or strategy. As a result, this is not necessarily a driving force behind corporate social responsibility, but rather something that businesses accept since it is a mandate from the government. For example, Companies Act 2013 in India was one of the world's largest attempts in adopting CSR as a required provision by placing legislative requirement on companies to engage in CSR projects towards social welfare activities. It was enacted by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. India is now the only nation that regulates and requires CSR for a few specific types of enterprises that are registered under the Act. As a result, the amount spent on CSR has increased from Rs. 14,394.55 crores in 2016-17 to Rs. 25,714.65 crores in 2020-21. 3. Survival and growth. Every company is a component of society. Since it makes use of the community's resources including land, water, and other natural resources, every business should be obligated to provide a portion of its profits to societal welfare. Besides, the growth of the business is dependent on the growth and development of the community in which they operate. E.g., to maintain cleanliness and hygiene in their area of operation, Amul Dairy has introduced the innovative Rural Sanitation Campaign program. The dairy offers interest-free loans to its milk producers in the districts of Anand and Kheda for the construction of pucca toilet blocks, which will not only help women milk producers avoid embarrassment but also maintain hygiene. 4. Consumer awareness. Consumers these days are more aware of the social and environmental issues and also tend to base their purchase decisions based on these considerations. For example, when one goes to buy an air conditioner or a refrigerator, one is more likely to purchase energy-efficient equipment with a 5-star rating. Companies are aware of changing consumer preferences and hence try to advertise and popularize such efforts taken by them. For example, following a prolonged campaign by the animal rights organization PETA, Burberry stated that it would no longer use fur in any of its products, joining other manufacturers of women's bags such as Gucci, Versace, Armani, Stella McCartney, and others. Wayne Visser in his book The Oxford Handbook of CSR has identified 10 drivers of CSR which are given below. National, or internal, drivers refer to pressures from within the country, while international, or external, drivers tend to have a global origin. National drivers and description. Cultural tradition. CSR frequently leans heavily on enduring indigenous cultural traditions of charity, integrity in business, and community involvement. Political reform. CSR cannot be separated from the process of reforming socio-political policy, which frequently influences company activity to incorporate social and ethical issues. Socio-economic priorities. The socio-economic environment in which businesses operate and the development priorities frequently have the most immediate impact on CSR. Governance gaps. CSR is frequently viewed as a solution to close the governance gaps created by weak, dishonest, or underfunded governments that are unable to adequately deliver a range of social services. Crisis response. Economic, social, environmental, medical, or industrial crises might spur CSR actions. International drivers and description. International standardization. CSR norms, guidelines, and standards are a major motivator for businesses that want to compete on a worldwide scale. Investment incentives. CSR is incentivized by the Socially Responsible Investment (SRI) trend, in which funds are evaluated on ethical, social, and environmental factors. Stakeholder activism. Stakeholder or pressure group intervention, which frequently acts to address the perceived shortcomings of the market and governmental policy, also encourages CSR. Supply chain. Small and medium-sized businesses are more likely to engage in CSR because of demands that multinational corporations place on their supplier networks. 1.6 Theories of CSR. In this section we will discuss 3 basic theories of CSR. They are I. Carroll's CSR Pyramid 2. Triple Bottom Line Theory 3. Stakeholder Theory. I. Carroll's CSR Pyramid. Carroll talks about 4 obligations that the businesses have towards the society. Figure 1.1 shows Carroll's Pyramid of CSR. Let us discuss in detail these 4 obligations. A. Economic responsibility. B. Legal responsibility. C. Ethical responsibility. D. Philanthropic responsibility. A. Economic responsibility. Economic responsibility, which is positioned at the base of the CSR pyramid, is one of the fundamental responsibilities of every organization. Carroll contends that corporations have an economic obligation to the communities in which they do business. Business organizations are supposed to produce the goods and services required by society, which in turn allows them to make profit. They use a number of strategies to enhance organizations' long-term financial success. Profit is the reward of the business owners, which is also used by them to reinvest in the business so that it can expand. Those firms that are unsuccessful go out of business. B. Legal responsibilities. All businesses are expected to adhere to the societal standards set by the societies in which they operate. They are also expected to comply with any local, state, and national laws that may be in effect. The companies hire compliance officers to make sure that these regulations are followed. According to Carroll, businesses must uphold all legal obligations to stakeholders in society. In addition to adhering to these legal obligations, businesses must also operate in a manner that is consistent with legal and governmental expectations. They must also adhere to numerous federal, state, and local regulations. C. Ethical responsibilities. Laws are necessary but insufficient on their own. The community also expects businesses to act ethically and perform as they should. Ethical obligations are the actions, norms, standards and practices that are expected to be followed by the corporates. However, they may not necessarily be written into the law. The ethical obligations go beyond the legal requirements. The essential ethical principles of justice, fairness, and utilitarianism should guide how businesses operate. D. Philanthropic responsibilities. Although it might not be required, the public nonetheless expects businesses to give back to society. The firm's willingness to engage in activities that are not legally mandated nor morally expected is a major determining factor. It stems from citizens' expectations of responsible business behavior and individual behavior. The businesses take part in a variety of philanthropic programs, including monetary donations, gifts of goods and services, volunteer work by staff and management, community improvement projects, etc. While philanthropic giving is primarily voluntarily in nature, businesses are often encouraged to do so to enhance their brand. Figure 1.1. Carroll's Pyramid. Look at the screen. 2. Triple bottom line theory. The term triple bottom line was first coined by John Elkington. The economic, social, and environmental components are added to the traditional accounting framework by the triple bottom line theory. These are also called the 3 Ps, or people, planet, and profit. Elkington asserts that all 3 dimensions ought to function sustainably. A. Economic dimension/profit. According to this theory, long-term success of a business depends on making consistent and sustainable profits than on making windfall gains. In order to make sustainable profits, businesses need to adopt strategies that account for expenses and taxes, projecting factors affecting business climate, analyzing market benchmarks, and avoiding threats with the highest potential for loss. Businesses with a triple bottom line are aware that business profits, people and the environment are not mutually exclusive. IBM introduced their Corporate Service Corps program in 2008. In accordance with the initiative, 500 IBM employees each year contribute their project management, strategic planning, or engineering core talents to a startup business located in emerging markets like Brazil, China, or Ghana. Teams from IBM core work on issues like urban agriculture and public safety. According to IBM, the program generates a return of $600 million on a $200 million investment. B. Social dimension/people. This theory states that in order for businesses to be sustainable in long run, they should strive to attain social sustainability by engaging in endeavors that meet the requirements of the community in which it operates. As the social needs of the communities vary with regions, businesses must gather information on a range of social indicators which will help them in prioritizing community needs, and firms can then take action to meet those needs. A corporation with a triple bottom line pays its workers fairly and offers them secure working conditions. Starbucks sought to diversify its workforce, and as a part of its socially conscious initiatives, it has promised to hire 25,000 U.S. military veterans and their spouses by 2025. The business accomplished this milestone 6 years ahead of expectations and currently recruits 5,000 veterans and spouses each year. Also, Starbucks established a mentorship program to connect Black, Indigenous, and people of color, BIPOC, to top leaders and engage in partnerships to address issues of racial and social fairness. By 2025, the chain aspires to have 40% BIPOC representation in retail and production, as well as 30% BIPOC representation in corporate roles. C. Environmental dimension/planet. An essential component of the triple bottom line strategy is the environment. In their efforts towards environmental sustainability, businesses should minimize their environmental footprints, and those who cause environmental damage should likewise pay a price. Reducing waste, putting money into renewable energy, using natural resources more wisely, and improving logistics are some of the factors that contribute to environmental sustainability. Danone is a leader in world food and beverage industry and produces dairy and plant-based products and water. Danone has received a lot of criticism for having one of the largest plastic footprints. However, it has now projected itself as a strong brand on sustainable food values by making conscious initiatives towards sustainable packaging. Danone made huge progress towards sustainability in 2018. To make their products even greener, they launched new plant-based products, made significant packaging improvements, and disclosed their 2030 sustainability targets. As of 2018, 77% of Danone's plastic packaging was recyclable, biodegradable, or reusable, making up 87% of the company's overall packaging. It sells at least 50% of its water in reusable containers. Three-stakeholder theory. This theory was presented by Dr. F. Edward Freeman. According to this theory, a company's shareholders are just one of its stakeholders and not the only stakeholders. According to Freeman and Reed, stakeholders are widely defined as any identified individual or group who can affect or are affected by an organization's goals. For any business to succeed in long run, the concerns of all the groups/stakeholders should be taken into consideration. These groups may include customers, employees, suppliers, political action committees, environmental groups, local communities, the media, financial institutions, governmental organizations, etc. A firm may make money in the short term by ignoring stakeholder concerns, but when the stakeholders lose faith in the company over time, the company will be unable to exist. Let us now discuss the expectations of and from various stakeholders under this theory. A. Employee. Employees expect reasonable working hours, fair treatment and compensation, which when denied spreads a negative information about the organization. B. Suppliers. Like employees, suppliers also expect fair treatment and pay. Likewise, the stakeholder approach expects that suppliers would use necessary diligence to conduct themselves in a fair and ethical manner. C. Manufacturers. As a result of globalization and opening of economies, different parts of a products are manufactured at different locations. For these manufacturers as well, it is expected that the working conditions and pay will be equitable. D. Environmentalists. People living in vicinity to the project have their concerns about the impact the project would have on their environment, power, or water supply and quality. Such people who are also impacted by the local ecology are also regarded to be stakeholder, and hence they should be kept informed, and their opinion should be sought when the project is being planned. E. Government bodies. Before a project can begin operations, it must obtain government approval. As a result, the government and numerous regulatory authorities are also stakeholders. F. Community. Residents of the neighborhood are also interested parties in the project, and they would like it to either improve or maintain their quality of life without having any adverse effects. 1.7. Summary. In this unit, we have discussed the meaning and definition of CSR. We have also discussed the benefits and drivers of CSR. Three important theories of CSR, namely, Carroll's pyramid, triple bottom line theory, and the stakeholder theory, have also been discussed. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we will see you with the next chapter.